Welcome to the second of my telephone teardown videos. This time it's a receiver from the same Russian phone that the capacitor video was from. I'm hoping the autofocus is okay, it seems to be. This receiver failed with a very common problem, very low volume. Now, all receivers are slightly different, but we'll quickly remove the terminal screws. This receiver was very unusual in as much it has terminal screws and, as you see, two concentric rings which are used for push. There are springs that connect to them. American microphones used them, but I don't believe American receivers did. But this is obviously designed for two. Now, as you can see, it's crimped over, or the edge is rolled over, rather. So there is no real practical way of repairing these. This video is more to show how a receiver works, and possibly what went wrong. Again, there's no guarantee I'll be able to tell what's wrong. And try and keep the length of the video down a little. You can see all I'm doing is gripping it with the cutters. I mean, it would be possible if you had a lathe maybe to use a tool to unspin it, if that's even a term, or even a valid word. But what you'll usually find, it's not really worth the effort. I've got no idea what's in here. I mean, I know roughly, obviously, what's going to be in there. There we are. This is actually not quite what I expected. That's just literally front faceplate. Now in here, here we are. Removing those screws has allowed the, sorry, I'm off the camera. There's an insulating layer that insulated between this inner ring here and the outer shell. There's the connection to the actual outer shell. Yeah, this has had water in it. That's what its problem is. Yeah, there's the connection to the outer shell. Autofocus isn't doing too well on this. And there's the connection to the inner shell. You cannot see those wires on the camera. I'm not sure if they will show up at all. It's corroded through. That's why it was not working properly. You can see they're you could see they were attached there. The wire is literally finer than human hair. Anyway, we will remove this. This is plastic, which must date this to, let's see if there's a date code on here. 260 ohm. 79 is the date code on this. Now what I'm doing, was probably just a press fit in here, but because I'm taking it apart and not wanting to put it back together, I'm just literally destroying the rim because it's easier to show. And you remove the plate. Now on that plate, it's very much like a speaker. On that plate is the voice coil and the actual diaphragm. I don't know whether you can see that. It's a very thin plastic diaphragm. You can see it distorting there if you watch the reflection of the light on there. It's a very thin voice coil. It's actually quite disappointing. It's not much like a standard telephone receiver at all. There's the diaphragm and voice coil. Now, these work, as I say, exactly like a loudspeaker. There's the very, very fine wire. That is about 6 or 7 strands of it that I've got hold of there. You can see how fine it is. The magnet is here. Now, you may or may not know how a speaker works. I'd imagine if you're watching this video, you at least have an idea. That was meant to keep dust out and damp out, and evidently failed. This here is a magnet. Now what happened, if if you don't know how speakers work, the voice coil the magnet is a circular magnet. That is one pole of the magnet, and the metal ring around the outside that you can't really see is metal, but it is another pole of the magnet, which means that this voice coil, when it was in place like that, was between the two poles. Now, as you may or may not know from electrical engineering, when you have a coil of wire between the poles of a magnet and apply an electric current, it moves. And because it's rigidly attached to the diaphragm, it moved the diaphragm, or was supposed to move the diaphragm. It in fact didn't. But yeah, that's pretty much all the weight of this. You can see there's a rivet there, which goes all the way through to there. It's basically a heavy metal magnet. One of the connections is riveted onto the magnet, just because it's a convenient fixing point. And there's not really a lot to it. That is all the parts, pretty much, of a receiver. That is a moving coil receiver. The rocking armature receiver, if I come across a British 4T receiver, which is a rocking armature receiver, they work on a slightly different principle. They're much more efficient, but they do sacrifice a little sound quality. They sacrifice it to get higher volume levels from the same audio power, or same electrical power rather. It's the same thing that horn speakers, if you're aware of them from PA systems, the ones that look like old gramophone or phonograph horns. They are very, very loud speakers, but they sacrifice some of the voice quality or audio quality in order to get the highest volume possible. But once again, thank you for watching this video. Please comment, subscribe, and thumbs up the video if you enjoyed it.